Danielle Frank is an Olaplex on air spokesperson. What's in it with Olaplex podcast host? Spoiler, launching on May 24th, and also a licensed cosmetologist. We are so excited to have you today on the pod. Welcome, Danielle.
Kelly, I've been looking forward to this whole week.
Amazing. Well, it's a great way to, for us, end our day, round it out. But excited for our listeners to hear more about Olaplex today. We're going to start at the beginning. We want to talk a little bit about you. Did you always know that you wanted to go into beauty?
Oh, gosh. A very winding road because when I was 16, I remember telling my mom, oh, I want to go to beauty school because they had like a high school program. And my mother said, good girls aren't hairdressers. I don't know where she got this impression, but I was waylaid. And then, but the funny thing is that I think really about me is that I've always been that person that wanted to make someone feel great. Like they felt as though whether they could do something more than they ever could or really actualize what's going on inside. I have envy of the people that are artists and artistic in everything they do. Me, it's more personal. So I was in the fitness industry for a good 20 years and then didn't go to cosmetology school until I was 39.
That's incredible. That is amazing.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to what I wanted to do. And I winded up going in. And really, again, it was back to really wanting to do right by the person that was in my chair.
That's incredible. I mean, you weren't in an industry that made people feel good about themselves prior too. So it sort of trickled over, right?
Absolutely. I definitely see the parallels. Let's put it that way.
That is a bold move to be able to kind of switch career paths. Did you have any doubt at that time or you were like, nope, here we go. We're doing it.
I think I went into it with very low expectations. I should have known better because I am one of those people that is, I'm not going to say I'm competitive. I'm competitive with myself.
Okay.
I want to achieve excellence and be able to do something extraordinary, but even more so, the person that's in my chair, that moment, that you have when they're just like, oh, this is, I didn't think I could do this. That is like magic to me.
That's amazing. So tell me about that path, right? You're 39, you enter cosmetology school. What was it like? Take me through the next couple of years.
Well, funny enough, I had right out of beauty school, because again, I was a little older. I had 3 kids, but I wanted to be with excellence. And I lived near New York City. So I went into New York City, started applying to all kinds of places. But I had a good friend that worked for an Intercoiffure salon. Actually, it was the former creative director of Intercoiffure for the North America. It was Richard Calcasola.
Yep.
And I applied to be an assistant. So I knew that they were very vigorous in their training. And for 2 years, it was like intensive.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I moved to Florida. And then here it's a lot different. I come to realize that I love team environments. I like when there's constantly education being provided. I really love that environment. Here, it was a little more focused on booth renting. Salon suites were not as big, but now it's like, it was a lot of booth renting and I didn't like it.
Okay. All right.
I didn't like it. And then one day I, heard about this magical product that was coming out and when you're in a certain, like I was in that salon, we were taught to be very discerning. I can honestly say I was very skeptical. Okay. But I was curious because I have high lift blonde hair and maybe my hair might have been breaking like needles of an old Christmas tree. It's something that was a fact of life back in the day. You just knew you were going to have breakage and your hair was going to feel a certain way and you throw on a lot of product to keep it in place and to do what you wanted to do if it was aggressive, and my hair was aggressive.
Okay.
So I winded up using the product, and from the first moment, it was like 5 clients I thought of immediately, like, I'm going to use it on them. So, and then from that point on, within 6 months, I was working for the company because I thought, well, again, going back to my roots, there was nothing more magical than doing something for the person in your chair and really
Mhm.
giving them that confidence that they never had before. And
Yeah.
so suddenly I could work for a company where I could do that in a grand scale, especially with professionals, giving them a tool where they could spread that out like outwardly. That to me was magic. So I was like, yeah, I want to work for them. So yeah, it was pretty exciting.
At that time, the phenomenon, as you say, that of Olaplex and the mass success that the brand has had and how it's really changed our industry, that was the start. It was an indie quote unquote brand then, correct?
Absolutely. And with that, it's new technology. It
Yeah.
was, something that no one could do before. So it was hard at first because a lot of people didn't understand. Like they were confused, and we really were, it was really about empowering hairstylists. It was really about having conversations,
Yeah.
and really listening to what they go through on the day to day with their clients and seeing how we can best help them. So
Yeah.
it was an exciting time, and it still is. I love every last second of it.
I love it. It's a wonderful brand to be associated with, no doubt. We're going to jump into the brand. I'm sure you're ready for
Absolutely.
it. All right.
Uh-huh.
So, we want to talk a little bit about, you said you had high lift blonde, right? And there's damage in general, right? When
Oh
we put our
yeah.
hair through so much. Talk me through how that hair gets damaged and broken.
When it comes to hair damage, obviously there's a wide variety.
Yeah.
Things that Olaplex takes care of, and then there's things that we don't. But ultimately, when we think of any kind of chemical service, we learn in beauty school, in order to get the lift, in order to get the results that we want, we have to break disulfide bonds. Now, disulfide bonds is what gives the structure of the hair. Break too many and you're going to get breakage. You're going to maybe have the integrity of the hair be not as great. And so you're not going to retain all the things that you need in the hair to make it healthy. Your hair winds up
Yeah.
feeling drier.
Yeah.
You may need protein after a while. So yes, chemical services, like all of these things really do make a difference.
Amazing. Even outside of, hair that's we're putting chemicals on, does generally healthy hair still have damage?
Absolutely. You know what it is? We like, let's face it, we do stuff to our hair every single day. I know I do, but if you think about it, the ways that we can do on the daily, and obviously not as aggressive as chemicals,
Hmm.
but it accumulates. It's not like,
Yeah.
you do something and it's not going to happen again. So let's say flat irons. Flat irons are
Right.
going to cause that kind of damage. If we are brushing our hair aggressively, and think of stretching that hair, it
Right.
doesn't snap back to the way it was. You got to really be careful with those things. Even the environment, pollution, we've come to realize. I've talked to amazing scientists that have talked to about that. That is really stunning when I recognize what it can do. Hard water, oof, that's a
Yeah.
tough one. I learned that lesson moving to Florida because in New York I had great water. Down here it was like, oh goodness, I might need something to get all that out. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of different factors that can add into it, not just the chemical service. So it might not be immediately obvious, but in the same breath, you're going to start seeing things slowly but surely and go, I wonder why it's not quite the same.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Really interesting. We're going to dive into a little bit of the science of the product. So, when Olaplex came out, it was a bit of a mystery. Like, what is this new product? Tell me about generally the science behind Olaplex.
Well, kind of like I said with disulfide, hair, it's made up of a lot of different components, the
Yeah.
protein, the amino acids, but also those molecular bonds within the hair. So what happens is when we break disulfide bonds, that weakens that structure because that's what it's doing. It's keeping that great structure to keep everything where it's supposed to be. So if we don't have a strong structure, when we're adding stuff to it, moisture, protein, whatever, I mean, even color, how is it going to
Yeah.
retain it? Right. So what Olaplex does, well, at least our professional products, we have a lot of products that do a lot of things, but when it comes to our patented ingredient, what that is doing is relinking the disulfide bonds. It's creating a covalent bond, which is making the hair stronger.
How do the products work then to restructure that broken down hair?
Well, if we're talking about the professional products, for instance,
Hmm.
with the number one and number two, They are utilized specifically into our chemical services. So like I said, we have to break disulfide bonds in order for those chemicals to work. By adding it to our chemical services, we're mitigating that. We're going to allow it to break so we can get that lift or whatever, but we're also linking it and getting it to a place where it's stronger than it was before. And then the number 2 is kind of sealing the deal, anything that wasn't taken care of.
Amazing. So that's 1 and 2. What ingredients from within the product is actually helping to build up those bonds?
I had to practice this. It's bisaminopropyl diglycol demoliate.
Oh yeah, that's going to need a couple practice rounds.
You know what? I learned it early on, but I learned it from a 7-year-old. My dear friend Tanya, who is a hairdresser, her 7-year-old daughter memorized it because it was such a phenomenon. And I was like, okay, this is embarrassing. I better learn it. But it's that incredible patented ingredient that kind of, in my opinion, changed the way all of us do hair. It changed the way we look at hair now. And a lot of those amazing, amazing over the top stuff that we see nowadays that looks so gorgeous and healthy, even beyond the picture that was taken, that is a lot of times about Olaplex. So it's very exciting to see the evolution over the past several years.
For sure. So if I'm listening today, and certainly everyone, I believe under the sun has heard of Olaplex, right? But if you haven't, and you're standing at Cosmoprof, or you're, getting fed an ad into your social content, walk me through what stylists are going to see after their Olaplex treatments that they treat on their clients.
Depending on what they're doing, but let's say, for instance, myself. Now, I kid around and say my hair was breaking like crazy. It's not crazy, but I think back then, when I think about it, it was a lot more than I never do really. Okay. So I did a standalone treatment on my hair the first time I used it. I didn't put it into my bleach because I didn't know what I was dealing with. And I always put the stuff on my hair before my clients. So it was immediate where it almost felt like my hair was almost virgin-like, which I haven't felt in a long time. Right. So really, and again, I want to make it clear, it's not a conditioner. It's not bringing moisture or protein or anything like that to your hair. It has a specific job. It's relinking those disulfide bonds to make your hair stronger. So when I did it, I wound up using a great moisture treatment, everything. Let me tell you, my hair felt like new. Where before, if I was doing it, it just maybe a little bit of something, but within days, it didn't feel great. With Olaplex, it was like, boom, my hair was back to the way it was. When I started adding it to my clients' services, it was, at first I did blondes because, blondes. Okay. And I was finding that their hair was almost in better condition afterwards than it was before. They were incredibly excited. I used to send them home with the number 3 to maintain at home. And they would come back, just be like, oh my gosh, like this stuff is amazing. Yeah. And so, and then I started using it in some chemical services and perms. Oh my gosh. The perms, I could not get over the difference between the two, and the fact that I didn't have to wait to wash their hair, because you can wash the hair if you use Olaplex right then and there. So no more stinky. No more stinky.
That's inches.
Chutney would have the whole argument on Legally Blonde would never have worked.
Oh my gosh. That was so good. Actually, I love that came full circle. Thank you for saying that. Little bend and snap never hurt anyone. Right. So we talked about number 1 and number 2. We go all the way up to 9. Do I have that correct?
Oh yeah.
All right. A little product quiz. Can you walk me through 1 through 9?
But I will do a basic, because otherwise I do get passionate about them. I feel like they're all my little babies.
9 babies.
I know. You know what? I come from a family of 11 kids. I can love them equally.
That's doable.
But I will say each one of them, what I will say overall, what I love about everything that we've done with Olaplex and with all of our retail products is I always find, and this is a personal observation, Olaplex is always thinking of 2 things: what is good for you and what's
Okay.
going to give you instant gratification, because
We
we
like
all
both.
want instant gratification, right? So of course we have our number 3. That was the one that launched it all. And that
Mhm.
is, again, not a conditioner. It's not a protein treatment. It's actually something you do before you shampoo. So you're going to dampen your hair, put it in, leave it in for 10 minutes. That's it. Then rinse it out, shampoo and condition as you normally would.
Yeah.
That is very much like our, number 2, but obviously number 2 is professional. But it's supposed to help you maintain your hair and keep it strong. You can, if you need a little bit of a boost, it's getting a little bit weak, you're noticing it's not quite the same, it's a great product to be using. It really is a phenomenal product.
Okay.
And we did come out with the number 0, which is it actually boosts the efficacy of the number 3 by 60.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Incredible.
a little bit of extra, again, not as strong as a standalone treatment, which is in the salon. That is like your bread and butter. That one is the big one. But it's a great product for any of those clients that they came in for the standalone. Certainly, they have some serious problems. Send that home with them. That's going to help them a great deal. And then when they come back in your chair, they're going to have so much better quality hair. You're going to be able to do whatever it is you really wanted to do with their hair. 4 and 5, phenomenal daily shampoo. That's our number 4, bond maintenance shampoo and bond maintenance conditioner. Love the scent. Less is more, because you use it like regular stuff. You're going to be rinsing for days.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like a good.
Yeah, it's very concentrated, but it's, if you look at the bottle, it's 8.5 ounces if you're getting the retail product for your clients. And your clients might be like, psh, what is that going to last me? No, very little usage. And I'm telling you, my bottle will last me for months.
Wow. Okay. Great to know.
Then we get into, let me see, 4 and 5. Oh, my favorite. Number 6. That's my precious. And I think hairdressers specifically understand the power of number 6 in all the conversations that I had. That one is it's a cream based, it's a styling product. You put it in damp hair and blow dry. Now, what is it going to do? Actually, I've read the clinicals, up to 72 hours of reduced frizz. And I'm telling you, I live in Florida. The humidity here, when I moved down here, I couldn't get over it. My hair would poof out like a white dandelion. It was terrible. And I had to put tons of product. This, it's like moisturizing. It's lightweight. I don't feel like I have anything weighing me down, and yet gorgeous satin shine. So yes, that is my favorite. If I didn't have it, I'd die. 7 is our oil. The oil is phenomenal. It has a heat protectant in there, so you can put it in dry hair and use your stuff. It has a great shine, really moisturizing. A lot of people keep it in their pocketbook and just put it on their ends. Let's see, 7, 8. Our 8 is that wonderful moisture mask, that Bond Intense moisture mask, which we all were so excited when that came out, because from day one, people were asking for this. What I love about it is how lightweight it is. It's so lightweight that you're almost confused that it's not a mask, but it is. And if you know how there's a lot of masks out there, you put them on and then you're almost scraping it off of your hair when you're done. No, it absorbs so deeply into the hair that and provides all these ceramides and peptides. Absolutely phenomenal. That when you're rinsing it out, it's almost like there's nothing to come off. Use very little. And that number 9. So the number 9 is, again, another favorite for people. Has wonderful style memory. Here's that instant gratification, style memory. If you were to do air dry curls, bouncy, beautiful curls. I love it. It's a serum that you would put on your hair first thing. It's first thing that touches your head. Why? Because of the health benefit, or health, I say health, but the benefit, the good, healthy stuff for your hair. It has antioxidants in there that is going to help with free radicals. And if I was at first free radicals, but actually I once had I had these people that were on my podcast that talked about how they did an experiment in China where they cut hair from different people from different areas to see how much pollution was in the hair.
Wow.
They could identify who lived next to a freeway. It was phenomenal.
No way.
Yes. And
Whoa.
so what this product is doing is not only blocking it for 48 hours, but it's also going to neutralize what's in your hair. And that does eat away the protein in your hair. Not as aggressively as some chemical services, but again, all
Right.
these little pieces, they
Yeah.
add up and add up to hair that doesn't look that great in the long run.
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so those. Oh, and the 4D. Almost forgot about the 4D. My gosh, I don't know how you can. Let me tell you, people are going crazy for that
Mm-hmm.
product. You know why it's, and I think hairdressers will understand this, where we wear a lot of black.
Yep.
I have blonde hair, so we don't worry about the white residue when you have blonde hair. But if you're a hairdresser and you're wearing black all the time, oof. So it's made of this really fine rice starch and
Huh.
you don't see it. So you're shaking it up, you're putting it in your hair, and it is amazing. I actually sprayed it on a black shirt, obviously, 8 to 12 inches away. Nothing, nothing. And the other beautiful thing is that it didn't really leave a lot of grit.
Mhm.
If I'm going to have grit in the hair, I want products that I can use to control that. I don't want that in my
Yeah.
dry shampoo.
No.
Your hair feels like fresh and
Mhm.
beautiful. And it's really taking care of all the issues that we wind up having with buildup. And on top of it, it's really good for your scalp. It's healthy for your scalp. So
Mhm.
all those pieces come together and it's a magical product.
I love that too, because choosing a dry shampoo with dark hair like mine is a journey, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
even when there is a dark colored dry shampoo, then that residue is on your hands, right?
And
So
don't you find that a lot of them also your hair winds up looking dull?
yes, and then
Yes.
you've got it on your paper or your wall if you hit the light switch and it's no good. So
I also they tell you to shake it out and then it's like all over your
yeah,
bathroom.
no, it's
And this, you
terrible.
don't have to. You're just massaging it into your scalp. Who doesn't want a good scalp massage, even if it's your
And
own?
And scalp health is just such an interesting topic right now. We're now
Mm,
starting as consumers to pay attention to our scalp, which is oh so important. So thank you for
absolutely.
mentioning that part as well. So if I go back to our professional products, number one and number two, you had mentioned it is not a protein treatment. Can you elaborate on that for those who think it might be?
It's funny. It always blows my mind that so many people think it is a protein. However,
Yes.
I think I can connect the dots as to why.
Okay.
Olaplex again is like new technology. It's something that never existed before and it's
Yeah.
reparative. When before Olaplex, what did we use? We used protein. We used protein to try to get the hair back into shape. And that,
Okay.
that was our last ditch effort. We throw the protein on and pray to, at the sink, oh, please, please let this do the job. And, for some of the hair, it would. And then
Okay.
other hair, it was pretty much, you didn't have a structure for the protein to get into, like,
Okay.
So when this came out, I think a lot of people just assumed that's what it was.
Yeah.
At least that's my personal thoughts, Um, but it is so different. It is such an amazing technology. And I think that's why it's so exciting and why people get so excited about it as a whole. And again, it does something uniquely different than any other product out there. And it's really focusing on those disulfide bonds. So that way you have a tool that you can use to get that in shape.
Yeah.
And then everything else you do kind of falls in place.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing.
That is interesting that that new technology sort of slid into that category as pros and consumers were like, it seems like a protein, but that myth is now dispelled on a large scale
Mm.
for us here.
All
You
it
know,
takes is one big influencer to go, it's a protein.
right. And then
It's
you're like,
not.
wait, let me grab that narrative back.
Right.
Is it possible to overbond your hair or your client's hair when using Olaplex?
Well, this is the thing. Like Olaplex is relinking existing bonds.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's
Okay.
not like it's creating any more. So it's,
Okay.
it's not possible, so it's only really relinking existing ones. That's it. It's not creating anything new.
Great. For everyone out there, nothing new. We're linking the existing.
Yes.
What hair types does Olaplex products work best for? You mentioned certainly your high lift blonde. Can I use it for any Hair
Oh,
type, hair
yeah.
texture?
I get even virgin hair. Even
Yeah.
virgin hair can benefit from it. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a standalone treatment or you're sending home with like a number 3, number 0, and you have someone with virgin hair, that seems relatively healthy. You're not going to see a dramatic result like you would see with someone that has, janky hair, like it's falling apart.
Yeah.
You're going to see more results with that, something
Okay.
obvious that, woo, wow, look at that. When it comes to adding it to your services, that's a whole nother story, in my opinion, because I've had hairstylists say to me, oh, I've always done great work. It's not like I'm doing anything aggressive and the hair always looks great. Like, why would I need Olaplex? And I get it. But because, beautiful artists out there and people that are very conscientious in the box that we were given as hairdressers, this is what we can do. But what we're saying is that there's another way, because let's face it, we do our color. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. We send them home. What are they doing at home? They're sitting there, flat ironing, rough drying, going through with the brushes like aggressively. They are pulling it into a tight ponytail. And this is hair that, again, chemicals, broken disulfide bonds, it might not be aggressive, but you've broken some. Now we're going to stretch it back as much as we can, and we're going to start seeing the breakage. So what we're doing is giving a gift to our clients, where we're resetting that button right there in our chair. So when they go home, they're not going to have as many issues. This is where it's really important to remember that it elevates the service so much. And quite frankly, I mean, I always did great hair, period. I'm not going to brag, but I did great hair. But when I started incorporating Olaplex, I saw a new level to my work that I didn't see before, because no matter how you put it, healthy hair is gorgeous hair.
Right.
Period.
Amazing. For sure. So you mentioned, you've got a client sitting in your chair. For those of our stylists listening who haven't added Olaplex as a service, walk me through that consultation process, because it's hard to say, I see this happening. If they're nervous to say that, what's your approach on that consultation?
It's funny because that was like one of the big things that I was trained in when I first started.
Okay.
Richard was really, and the whole staff was very much about making sure that we had a thorough consultation, that it was not just about the style. I think a lot of us get very caught up in the artistry. We're looking at their face and we're seeing, where are we supposed to have all that balance? Where are we going to place the color? What tones are we going to go? But we're not having that conversation about their habits. Are you somebody that like flat irons your hair a lot? Are you somebody that, what kind of products are you using? Are you using something like over the counter kind of thing, or are you using something that's in salon? Because they do tend, no matter how you shake a stick on it, it's a higher quality.
For sure.
And then do you have hard water? If you're seeing breakage, and the hardest one, and a lot of people don't ask, and I once did a TikTok about this, and a lot of consumers were surprised on this one. What's your medical history? Have you had anything going on in the past few months?
Right.
All of these things play into our decisions on what we want to do for our clients. Do no harm, for sure. Again, it's about making sure our clients are getting the best that they possibly can and understanding the tools that we have. If we have that great consultation, we'll be able to figure out what tools are appropriate for each scenario. And Olaplex might be a part of that. Personally, I wouldn't do a client without Olaplex, simply because no matter what, it's going to benefit them.
Right.
But again, you got to look at the whole picture, because then you wind up having that client where this happened to me once, I'm going to say it, where you're doing a highlight and you're like, oh, I finished this one, let me get another foil, and smoke's coming up. And great. I never asked her if she had hard water. Should have asked that. Maybe I would have done a chelating.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we avoid a lot of these mistakes.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. So we've got our consultation. We know what we're going to do. talk to me about adding Olaplex as a service, increasing your ticket and your take home, hopefully, because that's what we also want to do as stylists and pros, elevate our craft and elevate our pocketbooks.
Oh, well, if we're investing in a product, we want to be able to get a return on it. And luckily, when you're using Olaplex, you're really using a very minimal amount and you're able to get a great return from it, because the beauty of what's happened with Olaplex over the past few years is that consumers now know about Olaplex. They weren't just hearing it from us. So we don't have to sit there and do the legwork to really explain the benefits. Like they know. So they're looking for it. When you say, I want to add Olaplex. Now, I'll admit, when I first started, I only used it on blondes because that back in the day, that was like the big thing, After a while, I was like starting to experiment, started using it with others, and I made all the mistakes that everybody, like, if you think you've made the mistakes, I made the mistake. Like, ooh, this is a great product. More is more. Let me put more in. No, that was a bad mistake. Basically, I started to really understand the product, and I used to do it a la carte, like tell them I really wanted to incorporate it in. And sometimes with certain people, it's a harder conversation than others. One day, I made the decision to raise my prices across the board by 15%. Whether that be a color service, a haircut, I don't care what it was, I was raising it across the board. And that way, if I felt, say, I had someone for a haircut and I wanted to use Olaplex in their hair, like just a mini treatment, the number 2, low cost, really quick, 5 minutes. If I wanted to use it in their hair, I didn't have to sit there and debate it, because they didn't want to add it on. Right. Do you know, I put out the announcement I think so many of us are afraid to charge more.
I know.
I, said, hey, there's going to be an increase of 15%. That's it. Put it all in there. I only had one client ask me why. Only one client. Right. And then I winded up saying, well, it's because I decided I wanted to be able to put Olaplex in any of your services. And she went, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got the reputation, believe it or not, as the healthy hairstylist. I had tons of referrals because then they were thinking, oh, well, she's putting Olaplex in for free. I wasn't putting it in for free. I just built it in. Right. And then I actually, with my blondes, when I did my consultation and I wanted to, and some other clients too, it depends on what their hair was like. If I really felt strongly they had to be using the number 3 at home, I literally built it into the end consultation. Smart. I built it in because I would say to them, look, if I'm going to take you as a client, these are the things that I expect you to have. You're going to have Olaplex in there and you're going to have to follow it up with this as well. You'll get it. This is the full price for it. Think of it as, if you think of any other service out there, like there's sometimes something they you have to go home with, and it's built in. So yeah, I mean, granted, when I started to cut back and they would go to other places, they're like, oh, Danielle gives us Olaplex for free. It wasn't for free.
Right. But that's a really smart way of looking at it though, is just build it into that base ticket with that price increase, because the results you're going to get on the back end are going to speak for themselves. Right. And you're like, wait, she does something different. It's something.
You know what? If any of you go into Facebook, if you happen to be on Facebook, we have this group called Olaplex users. These are hairdressers around the world, all using it, whether it be in Europe, in the US, everywhere. We actually had this one, post that came up, and I got to see if they've tagged it or pinned it, where she literally took her bottle and was marking it off with her whole salon staff and had a whole spreadsheet. The amount of money she made, from a salon kit was insane. So I love that group because they really speak to real life, what are you doing in your salon and how do you talk about it? So I definitely encourage, if you're a professional, go on in there and check it out, because it really is great to learn these tips and tricks.
And what's the group name again? And can anyone join? A pro?
Pro. You have to be a pro. They will ask you questions. They will ask if you are a professional. If you have your license, that's great. Otherwise, you can write down what salon you work for. they might
Wonderful.
take a look and see if you do.
Mhm.
We like to keep it like a little bit gate kept,
sure.
but it's
Yep.
Olaplex users on Facebook. Great group. And also our app is phenomenal as well. We have our certification on there. And when you have your certification, you get on our salon locator. So all those great people that are, really big Olaplex fans and they're trying to find someone in their neighborhood, your name will come up. So
walk me through that certification. What does it take? How long does it take?
well, the great thing is it's free.
Okay.
There's a manual that comes along with it. It's pretty straightforward. There's a few different sections, but it's easy to go through it and you can pause at any time. I think if you actually read through the manual, or even if you already have experience with Olaplex, the chances are you're going to get through that within like a half an hour. It's not that difficult because, it's not as complicated as it really seems. I think it's that unfortunately, because it was such a mysterious thing in the beginning, there was a lot of dialogue that made it seem a heck of a lot more complicated than it really is.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for breaking it down for us today. This was amazing. Not just breaking down the professional products, but also your 9 babies, 10 with the 0.
Actually, I'm embarrassed because
and 11
there's one more.
Yeah, there is.
The lash bond. I can't believe I didn't mention. You know what? I get focused on hair. But lashes are hair too. They're hair too. And I have to say, I started using it a little bit late. All right. Okay. Admittedly, I had gotten sick and I didn't want to use a product until everything is like, common sense, right?
For sure.
So I started using it, and this is one of the reasons I'm excited about it. And I've been using it for about 4 weeks, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see. I actually got chicken pox as a kid, and I had one on my eyelash. So here's the funny thing. I have a stubby eyelash there.
Yeah. I mean,
so I look like I have a gap. It's there. It's not like I'm not getting eyelashes. It's just, it never.
Little.
Right. And I'm starting to see that it's growing. Like, because here's the thing. It's not like something that's making things grow. What it's doing is creating an environment for it to be healthy and strong.
Okay.
So like I'm kind of like, let's see what happens. So I'm excited. And the people that I am friends with that have been using it a lot longer, I'm like stunned. It is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that it doesn't have a lot of those things in there that, some people have concerns about. I have very sensitive eyes. Like I said, I get allergies and things are just dripping everywhere. Yeah. It's, I have to be cautious. But I haven't had any issues. So that's pretty exciting to me.
Wonderful. And building out that product line, who knows what's next from Olaplex, right?
Who knows? Who knows?
Tell us, pros, where we can find the product, where the best place is to snag some product.
When it comes to our pro products, I mean, obviously go to any of your local distributors. You can find one, a lot of them use Olaplex, certainly the big ones. And of course, you can go to Olaplex.com. We have a professional side. And again, you have to make an account. You got to have your professional, but you'll be able to get stuff from there. And we also have loyalty. So that's always nice. And also on our .com and also on our app in particular, if we're having a new product or something coming out, we're telling it on there first.
Amazing. We're going to get the exclusive insider.
Before consumers find out anything, we're going to give you education on it first. So make sure that you get on that app because there's some great things coming out with that.
Incredible. Well, we've got up next, but before I get there, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And thank you for this immense knowledge and kind of breaking down Olaplex for us. We know it's a cult product and a cult favorite, but always great to have a refresher from the expert.
What's exciting? Like I said, it's a cult favorite, but in the same breath, it's been around for a hot minute now.
Right.
And if you go on it, like there's millions and millions and millions of posts and hairdressers that have been using it. And it's crazy the amazing results they get. So it's exciting to me.
It's exciting. What's up next is we have the Tease Quick Takes, where we are going to probably uncover some new things about you. So I'm going to ask a few questions and you can give me whatever comes to mind. Okay. The first one is, what was your first ever product that you owned? Beauty product or hair product?
Actually, I know this because I was probably 13 or 14.
Okay.
My aunt was an executive secretary for Estee Lauder.
Oh,
So
lovely.
she used to come home with these
Mhm.
little green, there were these tiny little like eyelet, like mascara, not mascara,
Shadow.
eyeshadow or
Yes. Oh.
blushes. So, I mean, here I was 13, 14 years old in the 80s being all bougie. But, it was so exciting as a little kid that my first things that I got to play with, because my parents would never let me play with makeup before,
Uh.
was that. It was like really great products.
No cover girl for you. You went right to Estee
Right
Lauder.
to Estee Lauder. Yeah.
All right. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I don't know if this is superstition, but if I have this like thing that like if something goes horribly wrong
Yeah.
or have like something bad happens, I always like in my head tell myself, and I guess that's kind of like, I don't know if it's a practice, a superstition, but if I don't do it, I know things don't get, I feel like things don't get better, is that, okay, I'm allowed to feel bad about this right now, but there's a lesson to be learned in this moment. And if I don't learn it, I'm going to have to go through this again. So, yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
My whole like, and it is ritualistic. So I don't know if that's superstition or like, but it is almost like knocking on wood.
I know. And I'm
and if I don't do it,
gal.
if I don't do it, things go bad. Like it gets worse.
It's almost like you don't want to find out if you don't do it, what's next.
I mean, I mean, really, it's logic when you think about it. If you're not evaluating what happened and what lesson am I going to learn from it, of course it's going to get worse because you're not going to learn a lesson. But to me, it's almost like so ritualistic. It is almost like knocking on wood. So, okay. So that's
all right. We'll take it. Okay. What do you consider the ultimate comfort food?
Oh, Haagen-Dazs ice cream pops, vanilla with the chocolate on the outside and almonds.
Ooh, all right. That's a good one.
That is really my guilty pleasure. Like if I need something, that's it.
Are there any in your freezer right now?
I ate it last night.
Okay. Trip to the store needed.
Right.
Okay. This is going to be good. Who would play you in a biopic of your life?
Ooh.
I know.
That's a tough one. I would say, see, this is terrible because like I sit there and I think to myself of, I'm always thinking of someone that's older than me, which makes no sense.
I mean, like, I'm going to go Charlize Theron.
Oh, I'll take that. I'll take Charlize. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She's lovely. But I also feel like I'm slightly quirky. Okay. So like, I think of people like, oh, what is her name? She was in Spider-Man and with the red hair.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. I feel like she's awesome. A little bit like, quirky.
I
and
like
I just
that.
Like, all right, I could do that.
Lovely. I like that a lot. Okay. Last one. And I've got to believe that there's an Olaplex product in here. Say you are on a deserted island and can only bring 3 beauty products with you. What are you bringing?
I mean, the first thing comes to my head is Olaplex number 6.
Yeah.
My precious. I mean, definitely sunblock.
Yep.
Sunblock is huge. Everybody should be using sunblock, just so you know, not just like incredibly white people like me. Oh my goodness. I burn so easily. And then I guess like, all right, so I would cheat and say the salon kit, but technically that has the 1 and 2 in it.
More than 1.
It's more. So then I would have to say, well, then if I had to take stuff out, like I would say the number 1, but I feel like, what am I going to mix it with? Like, I'll do the 2.
Okay. All right. 2.
Yeah.
Sunscreen, number 6 and number 2.
Yeah. Which is like, for other people, if you're not a professional, number 3. So yeah. But yeah, definitely the number 6. Got to keep the frizz in control.
I think if you have learned one thing from this pod, if you live in a climate where there is any chance of frizz, you need the 6.
Or if you have frizz in general, my son, he was born with pin straight hair, went through puberty. He has corkscrew.
Come on.
Dead serious.
That's incredible.
So once that started happening, he was growing out his hair.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what to do. We started using the number 6, and that gorgeous, like he could not go without it,
I love
Otherwise
that.
it's a big frizzy mess.
That's incredible. Well, Danielle, thank you for your time today. It was great getting to know all things Olaplex and more about you and your career.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.